We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers including James Van Prague, Vincent Jenna, and Troy Parkinson, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckman, welcoming you to the 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.
Everything is energy. What is energy? Energy are molecules that vibrate or move at a certain rate of speed. For instance, we're sitting in these chairs here. There's a building around me. The energy, the molecules are vibrating, moving at a very slow pace. Very slow. The slower they are, the more dense they become. Dense the building, the solidity of the space is. In this three-dimensional world, the molecules vibrate so slow, so we have what appears to be a physical, solid world here. There are many, many levels of vibration, many levels, if you will, and of speed of molecules vibrating. So there's a fourth dimension, fifth dimension, sixth dimension, seventh dimension. Each dimension, the molecules are vibrate faster and faster and faster and faster. I like to use the analogy of a speeding fan. When you have a ceiling fan and it moves around very, very quickly, you don't see the individual blades because it's moving too quickly. But if you stop that ceiling fan and you slow it down, you begin to see one blade, then another blade, another blade, another blade. Same thing with us. So we are those individual blades here on this physical earth. But you turn it on, you speed it up, you can't see them anymore. Same thing with us. We are a spirit force first and foremost, having a physical experience. And our spirit resides, of course, in the body, but also as a part of that spirit, which is that higher vibration of energy, higher vibration of frequency. So we're all energy all the time, just vibrating at a different rate of speed. So people often say, well, what is energy? How can you show me energy? Can you demonstrate energy? And I said, yes. It's a very simple exercise everybody can do. If you hold your hands like this, and you cup your hands, and you just become aware, just mindful of the space in between the palms of your hands, yeah, and just begin to have an awareness of what that feels like, you'll begin to feel a certain pulsation in between the palms of your hands. And soon you'll begin to feel like a difference in polarity, positive, negative, and you actually will feel this sensation of like a tingling sensation, and that's energy coming out of the palms of our hands. And I play with that like an accordion, and everybody can do that. Now, this energy feels a certain way, so I'm being very, very mindful of how it feels. It's a characteristic to that energy. And what I do then is to feel the energy that's coming out of the body with what we call the chakra points, energy centers of the body. So I'm going to start with my third eye center and just feel that, like, whoa. And I feel a difference in the temperature, a difference in pulsation, and it's a difference in density, vibration. Now mine feels very, very open and very clear. And that would make sense because I'm a clairvoyant. I see. So the energy goes pulled right out. Now if I go down to my throat chakra, which is another energy point, it's also it's a creative center. It's also pretty much out there. But there's a very subtle difference between what it feels like with here and here. Yeah, I could say this is more colorful. Yeah, and then I go down to my heart chakra, heart point, and that feels very, very different. Does it feel denser? Not really. It feels more complete. I don't like to put physical traits upon these energetic terms because you're putting these physical descriptions on another dimension, if you will. So then I go down to my solar plexus, which is our seat of intuition, our seat of knowingness, and that feels, wow. That feels like busy, 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 burn, 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 like interesting. So all of these centers, you can feel them distinctly different. And those are all energy points, so you can play with the energy and feel the energy. And remember, thoughts are pure energy. Thoughts are energy. So when you think of something, you're creating a thought, you're creating that energy to go somewhere. You're focusing the energy. That's what thoughts are, focused energy. So you think of someone, that goes right to the energy, goes right to them. So many people walk around the earth with a lot of people's energy on them. Not their own energy, but other people's energy. And I'll often say to people when I see them, did you take a shower or a bath today? And just joking, and they go, well, yes. I said, so you're concerned about your physical cleanliness. What about your spiritual cleanliness? Do you know how many people's thoughts are on you? Do you know how many people's thoughts, feelings, energy is stuck on you? It's just stuck on you? Are you doing anything to get rid of their energy? I say, no, how? So I tell them how to do that, how to get rid of the energy, because you have to be responsible for what comes in your sacred space. I once had a lady come to me for a reading, and she came to my door, and I looked at her, and her aura, her sacred space, was ripped and torn, holes, and there was all these spots on her, and she had other people's energy on her. She said, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? I said, it's not what's wrong with you, it's who's wrong with you. Whose energy are you carrying around with you? So I proceeded to get rid of that energy and peel away the different layers from other people's thought forms that were on her.
We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo, featuring over 50 exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, and so much more. Go to www.edgelife.net for more information.
Hello, my name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Minneapolis Edge Life Expos. And today it is my privilege to interview Echo Bodine and Catherine Harwig, two of the foremost psychics in the upper Midwest. Many of you know them. They have agreed to answer some of the questions that many of you have, and they get the answers, and the questions will give an example of what our expo will be like in the future. They're a wealth of information and knowledge that they can share with you. And I think my next question is that you hit a little bit on it, is preparation. Is that the tools that we can use to help us go through all of this. I believe meditation is the single most significant thing that has been given to us. That laying that out, i.e. meditation, what other tools can we use to enhance and make our lives better?
Well, you know, okay, I agree that meditation is important, but the word meditation really throws people because they think they have to sit down and go do the Om thing and they have to be silent and sit in a certain position, and people get really concerned about, am I doing it right or wrong? What if I'm doing it wrong? Am I wasting my time? People have to learn different ways of meditating, which could be going for a walk by yourself, no music on the headphones, just walk, talk to your inner voice. I think the single most important thing that's important to me to teach people is about their intuition, that I believe that it is the voice of the divine within all of us, the voice of our higher self. And if we can connect with that and live our life by that guidance, really focus each day on getting the inner guidance, that to me is what is the single most important thing that a person can do. And again, meditation, prayer and meditation, I think are both very important, but I don't want to limit it to sitting at the kitchen table saying the same prayer every night, or meditation just sitting in a Om position doing something that I certainly don't do very well. So
meditation could be taking a 2-mile run or jog, or a 2 or 3 mile walk, or playing around the golf, or sewing your favorite costume, whatever happens to be relaxing to you, to go into yourself. Is
yes.
that where I'm...
To me, prayer is talking to God, and to me, meditation is listening to God. And so whatever you are doing, to be in that state of listening is what's most important, I believe.
And that is aligning the soul with the rest of your aspects then?
Well, it's aligning the physical body and the soul with the divine. Okay. All three.
Catherine?
Well, I don't meditate. I took a meditation class once and I flunked. So I'm saying that a little flippantly, but that as Echo was saying, the traditional form of meditation is just not my style. I tend to move fast, and I what I do every morning is I sit down with a cup of coffee and I have a conversation with my guides, and I say, what do I need to know for today? And they tell me and we have a little conversation, and it's very pleasant, and I also think of other things and so forth. And if you're asking me what I think people should do, I think they have to quit. No, they don't have to do anything. Nobody ever does. But what would be useful is to quit looking for outside information and start looking inward.
Yep.
And when I'm talking about this evolutionary thing, I'm really seriously saying the people who are going to start becoming the intuitive species aren't going to need to even talk to, and I'll offend a lot of people. I don't know that you'll need to pray. I don't know if you'll need to talk to angels, because they'll be part of who you are. And so what you're really doing is just sitting down and having a conversation.
Yeah. What I heard there, Catherine, is that we are gaining another sense, or having that other sense become awake or come alive.
Oh, we have had that sense for a very long time.
It hasn't surfaced to
but
everyone.
but there haven't. First of all, people have, I mean, it's been underground. It's been, and then people make it way too hard, so that nobody but the elite have been able to do it. And I do think we're simply getting much better at it.
I do too.
That's what I think is a big change.
Yep.
What do you want to know? Echo and Catherine, I want to ask you a very important question to me, and I think everyone out there. What will you be discussing with the audience?
We're asking the audience to bring their questions. We're really asking them what they want to know. And we're hoping, you've asked us a few questions in this interview, we're hoping that they bring those sorts of questions. We're not there to answer personal questions. We're not there to answer, both Echo and I do that in other ways, but for this particular thing, these are questions that are of general interest to everyone. And we are interested in what their big questions are. What do they really want to know? You have ideas of what the audience might want to know, and Echo and I do. But what we want to hear from, so we'll be having people come up and ask their big questions, and hopefully something that will apply to everyone in the audience.
That is the secret to any worthwhile event, is that you can have some answers that will help the attendees, that will help the person on the street with their life. And that has to do, that's why I hold these, for that simple reason. That's why I started the Edge magazine, to give thousands and thousands of people a lot of answers to a lot of questions. It doesn't happen to be in this religion, that religion, that religion, this philosophy, but for really what has come down as themselves. Catherine, do you have anything to add, Echo, in this area?
What I like about the way we're going to do this is that we do get to hear what people are interested in. And because, again, both she and I do this kind of work every day, and we know the questions that our clients want answers to. But it would be fun to hear. It will be fun for both of us to hear what the entire audience, what do they want to hear about? Do they want to hear about UFOs? Do they want to hear about spirit guides? Do they want to talk about God? Do they want to talk about intuition? Do they want to talk about the economy? I mean,
they want to talk about politics.
We don't want to assume that we know what they want to hear. That's why this talk is going to be different than any that we've done before, because we're asking the people, what do you want to know? Tell us.
And I'm very excited to be working with Echo. We've been friends for a very long time. Both of us, I think, are similar in a lot of ways, in that we're pretty practical, down-to-earth people who do all sorts of very fairy things. But so what I want to know, perhaps, are some of the very practical things that people will ask about. But I don't know what they'll be. Should they sell their house and move to Timbuktu or whatever? I don't. It's not a personal thing, so it's not their house, but in general. And we'll see what happens. It'll be fun, and I can't wait to hear what Echo has to say, and I'll be surprised at what I'm going to say.
I am waiting excitedly about what the answers will be to the hundreds or the many questions we will have asked us and them about the chaos, what's going on in our present life all over the world. And that is why it's great privilege for me and the Edge Life Expo staff to share with you Catherine Harwick and Echo Bodine. Thank you.
We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo, featuring over 50 exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, and so much more. Go to www.edgelife.net for more information.
Well, I was born and raised in North Dakota. I was born in Minot, raised in Fargo, and filmmaking is my background and my passion as well. But when I went to college in Boston, I had the opportunity to also study mediumship, which is the ability to connect and communicate with spirits. So if anybody's seen, John Edward or James Van Praagh mediums on TV, it's very similar to the work that I do. But not something I ever thought I would do, but something I'm very passionate about as well.
Now, what made you decide? You had a good job at Video Arts Studios, did a lot of work over there, a lot of good work, as I know. What made you? That's a big leap to just give that up and start your own business. That can be a little scary.
Absolutely. Well, at first, it's not something that I ever thought I was going to do, but some opportunities presented themselves to do some traveling with my work as a medium. Now, mind you, I've been building both sort of careers, if you will, over the past 10 years, but the mediumship was more on the side, a little bit more quietly. And then some opportunities presented themselves where I could share a little bit more openly, and so when that came, I pursued that passion, if you will. I guess some people like to refer to it as a calling. I don't know about that, but it's not necessarily a normal choice. But having worked with people over the years the way I have, giving them messages from their loved ones, it's definitely something that I'm proud to be doing now.
Now, what actually is a medium, Troy?
Sure.
You can't get a degree in this, I guess,
No.
for college, but like you said, you've had some experiences in your life early on, and we'll get to those that made you think that you had something of a gift here. What exactly does a medium do, and how do people get a hold of you for things like this?
As a medium, what a medium does is they essentially become a bridge to the afterlife. And so essentially what I do is I help people connect with their loved ones and spirits. So how that works is through a number of different ways. I can see spirit, which is through something called clairvoyance. I can hear spirit through something called clairaudience. And I can feel spirit through something called clairsentience. So when I see spirit, I tell people that in many respects, it's like if I had you imagine Marilyn Monroe standing here. You could imagine her standing here within your mind's eye, and that's how I see spirit. I hear them telepathically, so for me it's just a conversation that occurs in my head. So it's a little different than the movies, and that's why I always find it interesting, because when you see TV programs like Medium or The Sixth Sense, it's a very visual, very vivid thing. And for me it's a much more subtle experience. So it's a development process as well. Some people are born with this ability. I mean, I believe we all are born with this ability. Some are more aware of it growing up in an experience. For me, it was really a development process. My wife had an uncle who had passed away when we were living in Boston. I had a friend of the family pass away, and so essentially I was curious. I wanted to know about the afterlife, near-death experience, etc., and took a development course, a 10-week workshop on how to strengthen this intuitive muscle. And intuition is something we all have. It's just like any muscle. You just have to exercise it, and it'll strengthen.
Now tell us about, in Chapter 1, you talk about being 5 years old, waking up in the middle of the night and seeing something on your desk. Is this kind of where it started, Troy? Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, in Bridge to the Afterlife, I write about my first sort of experience with spirit, if you will. And as you say, when I was 5 years old, I woke up in the middle of the night one night, and I know that I saw vividly with my eyes this young spirit, as I would call it now, but a young figure of a boy sitting on my desk. And of course, at that time, it scared me. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
I covered myself under my blankets, but I remember waking up that next morning and sharing that experience with my mom. And that's the one experience that I can recall growing up that really shifted my perspective. It wasn't something that was continuous after that, but I knew I saw something that I couldn't explain, and it wasn't until almost 20 years later that I began to realize what that was.
What did your mom say to you?
Well,
was it the typical, you were dreaming?
Actually, my mom was
very... Or was she understanding
She
about
was
it?
actually very understanding about it, and never sort of belittled it or squashed it. Actually, in her words, she thought it was an angel. And I guess at that time, that's the best way you can describe that to a young child. So I was very grateful for how she approached it, because she never made me feel like I was stupid. And as a result, now she's very supportive in the work that I do.
What do you say to the skeptics, of course?
You know, of course, the skepticism is a very good thing. I have a lot of friends, a lot of family who are very skeptical about my work. And you know, despite what I do, I'm also a very skeptical person. So it's natural for people to be skeptical about this. Because let's face it, within any industry, there are also a lot of frauds that come with the industry.
Sure.
People that are out for money trying to, you know, to hurt people. But for me, the work I do is true and genuine, and I realize that I'm committed to doing it to the best of my ability as well. So for the skeptics out there, I always share with them, look, before you pass judgment on something, come and experience it for yourself. And so when people want to experience something like this, I offer one-on-one readings with people, small group events, public events as well, monthly events where, you know, anywhere from 50 to 80 people come out and experience the messages that I give to people.
We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo, featuring over 50 exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers, and so much more. Go to www.edgelife.net for more information.
Our stories, no matter how intense or ordinary, cause us to completely lose track of the most important key ability that allows everything we attempt become reality.
We were created by a higher source, right? The omnipotent power, the force of all there is, love, God, Yahweh, Buddha, whatever we want to call it, we come from something greater than us. In fact, when it created us, it actually divided itself into us. So it cannot separate itself from us. It is always a part of us. Just like when the human egg is fertilized, this is a zygote, and the zygote starts splitting into the 33 billion cells that become us. Each one of the cells carries our DNA. And in that DNA is all of who we are and all of who we're meant to become. Well, it's the same thing when God created us. When He divided Himself, we got His DNA, its DNA, okay? And in its DNA is all of who we are, and it is. And that is attached to us forever, which means all of the wonderful things that go along with that, all abundance, all happiness, all joy, all prosperity, comes along with that inherently. So each one of us, just as we have the ability to take one of our human cells and pull the DNA from it and create a completely new being, we have the ability to use God's DNA to create the life we want. So if we're not, and if we're saying, God, it's not working, that means we're doing something wrong or something is missing. Let me see if I can explain this to you a little differently. When you want to bake a cake, and you gather some of the best ingredients, and you use the finest Rachel Ray utensils and mixing bowls to put it all together, and you pour it into a Pampered Chef expensive pan, and you stick it into the most expensive Gen Air oven, unless you've done the most important thing first, you will never get those ingredients to turn into a cake. What is the first line of directions in any recipe on baking a cake? Preheat the oven. You have to preheat the oven to let it get hot, so by the time you apply and put in the ingredients, it processes those ingredients into the cake that you want. So, if you are not living the life you want, or if you're attempting and keep hitting stumbling blocks, then you are missing or you've lost track of a process. The most important process that turns what you do into fruition. So what is this process that we're missing? I can't tell you. Not yet. I have to actually show you why you're missing it first. This is the mind we actually came in with and incarnated with. It's the mind that was created the moment God created us, and it divided itself. It's the mind that has its DNA. So it knows everything wonderful, loving, positive, joyful. So here we come, born into and incarnated into this physical world, and we grow into these wonderful, loving toddlers who enjoy every moment, every sound, every smell, every taste, every person, willing to share its melting ice cream cone with a stranger. Then life as we know it happens to it. And it begins to receive negative messages and influences from its environment. Dr. John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, in one of his earlier books stated, our self-love begins to break down from the moment we hear the first negative unconscious message that we should not appreciate ourselves. So I say that again. Self-love breaks down from the moment we hear a negative message that we should not appreciate ourselves. So if you're not creating the life you want because the processing isn't working, this is where it began to break down. This is where all our pains come from, all our supposed insecurities, where we harbor feelings of lack of self-worth. We're not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not worthy. I'm not adequate. That's all developed down here. So, because the pains are so great from the environmental mind, and we don't like that, we create the adult-made mind. Isn't that nice and simple and clear? Or the AMM. The AMM protects us against the pains of the environmental-made mind. As a matter of fact, this is the mind that Freud said we harbor all of those defense mechanisms. In the adult-made mind and in the environmental-made mind, when you attempt to create anything that you want, you're missing the processing. You cannot process from up here. The processing comes from down there. This is completely fake. The heat that turns the ingredients into a cake, the process you need to turn everything you do into fruition, the thing that reconnects you to God, that reconnects you to all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all your inner peace, all your divinely endowed gifts, is unconditional self-belief and self-love. But you have to understand that when you think you're believing in yourself, when you're attempting to create a better life and it's not working, it's because you're using a false sense of self-belief.
We would like to invite you to Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo. The Holistic Expo will feature over 50 different exhibitors, several dynamic spiritual speakers including James Van Prague, Vincent Jenna, and Troy Parkinson, many intuitive readers, and so much more. For more information on attending Edge Life's Fargo Holistic Expo, go to www.edgelife.net.
This is Gary Beckman, welcoming you to 2013 Edge Life Expo. Come and see us.